the history of these erasures goes back to the beginning of civilization, where power always tries to sort of control the architectural imaginary. We imagine yourselves, if any of you here are planning to be architects, you know, and say, I'm going to do a building, or I'm going to do a skyscraper, or so forth. We don't really design what our building will be like as a negative, right? What culture will come in and say, that is a building we don't want, right? But this has happened all through time. There's the great lament of Ur, right? Where this group of people came in and slaughtered the residents of Ur and demolished the temple and demolished the city, so that the ruins that we see today of Ur are not just a thing just fell apart over time, but really because it was sort of demolished, right? So we've seen the ruins of this sort of struggle. And throughout history, we could make a whole lecture course on just how buildings have been the target of our civilizational idea of conquest. Go to very eastern part of Turkey. There's a city called Ani. I write about it in the book, and it was just gigantic city. So 1,800 AD to 1,000 thereabout. It was a major metropole on the Silk Route, connecting sort of east and west and so forth. The Turks, the Seljuks, sort of come in. They conquer it. They move to the west. The city is therefore sort of demoted, and over time it crumbles. And then the Turkish government is not particularly interested in supporting sort of the Armenian nationalists, right? So the city gets removed. And so you see this building here, you might ask what that is. Well, this building is a sort of a mini factory that takes lime, and you put it in the fire, in the kiln, and it produces takes stone and produces lime out of it that you can use for mortar. So the reason that there are no buildings here is because these buildings have basically reduced all the stones basically to lime that you can then sell in the hardware stores, right? You know, sort of like this. And the only building that's left is, you know, the cathedral. Or the Somnath Temple. I'm showing you just one of many particular examples of buildings that are continuously wrapped up in certain crises of building and reconstruction in India. This is its state in 1940. So, I mean, truly a complicated sort of history. So it was originally built in around 100, and then there was a second temple built. Then it was destroyed by the Arab governors, and a third temple was built, and then it was destroyed again now by Islamic from the north. Then it was rebuilt, and then a stone temple was built, and then it was destroyed again, rebuilt again, destroyed again, rebuilt again, then, you know, rebuilt again on the site adjacent to the ruin, right? And went on, and still today, you know, the ruins are pulled down, the mosque moved a few miles away, the temple is built and rebuilt. I mean, truly complicated story, right? And this is only one of many of buildings that are in the contested crossfires of certain ideologies, religions, politics, and so forth. I mean, you can only hope that a building that you design, if you're an architect, never has to experience anything like this, right? So these are buildings with tremendous political implications, right? You know, this isn't just sort of architectural history anymore. You know, this is, you know, basically geopolitics. Dresden, Germany is another sort of example. So here we are on the view of Dresden, looking out across the Elbe River, and you see this sort of wonderful building here called the Frauenkirche. There it is in a picture before the war. Great Baroque architecture, example of architecture from the 18th century. Well, it was bombed and destroyed in the aerial attacks in the Second World War, and then Dresden was part of the East Germany, which were socialists, and so they left the ruin as a monument. They said, we want the ruin to be a monument. We're not going to fix it up or repair it. We're just going to let it all fall apart. Because, first of all, it's going to be a monument to the destruction of fascism. No one likes fascism, so we're going to make this monument a type of anti-fascist memorial. And then, oh, by the way, since it's a church and we don't believe in religion, it's also a monument to, you know, the end of religion, right? So they had sort of two monuments embedded in one, right? That religion is irrelevant in the modern world, and so why bother fixing it, right? Because we don't build churches anymore, right, in the socialist world. Well, you know, the Germans reunified, and they looked at this ruin and said, we want religion back, and we don't believe in the socialist version of the memorial, so they rebuilt it using CATIA. So CATIA, of course, as you know, or might not know anyway, is a very complicated computer program that is used for military engineers originally. Then Frank Gehry used it to make his complicated, weird, crumply buildings. And so the MIT building here is, of course, designed by this sort of computer program called CATIA, C-A-T-I-A. And so CATIA was used to actually rebuild the building because it's Baroque and has a lot of curves, and no one knows how to make curves anymore except by computers because we're sort of half illiterate, right? The fact that you could do it in the 18th century and can't do it now seems to strike no one as particularly odd. So we can do it with computers, but it was basically a modern building, right? Completely sort of computer aided. Now this building is not only a positive so-called monument to the restoration of history and consciousness to the German Republic, but it's sort of a kick to the socialists, right? Because they let the building fall into ruin, right? So it's sort of an anti-monument position to what the socialists want.